Good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Cooper, known as the Channel Guy Trader, and I'm reporting to you live from Wall Street Trading's Miami office down in sunny South Florida. Today's date is Monday, September the 16th, 2013, and here is today's After the Bell Market Summary video brought to you by WallStreetTrading.com. Before I get into the video here, I just want to give you guys a quick reminder. Go check out the website. A lot of free information on the site for you guys that are interested in educating yourselves and learning some more techniques and strategies when it comes to trading. Check that out. You can find a lot of information in the in our blog section. All right. So aside from that, let's go ahead and break down the charts. The Dow closed up over 118 points. The Nasdaq closed down over 4 points, and the S&P 500 closed up a little over 9.5 points. The breadth was in favor of the bulls today. We had 3,977 issues advancing on the NYSE, Nasdaq, and the AMEX. We had 2,238 issues declining on the NYSE, Nasdaq, and the AMEX. So you can definitely see that breadth was in favor of the bulls. So what caused the market to gap up today? Well, as you guys know, we had the runner-up for the Fed chairman position after Ben Bernanke was supposed to be, well, possibly Larry Summers, but he pretty much withdrew from the race. He pulled his card from the race, and now the market found that to be bullish. We also had some news over the weekend regarding Syria and the U.S. working together to go look over there to see what type of stockpiles, chemical stockpiles they have, and the goal is pretty much to destroy all the chemical stockpiles by the middle of 2014, if I'm not mistaken. And that caused a little bit of some of the pressure regarding the overseas Syria issue to come off the table as well. And you know that all the Larry Summers news, along with the Syria news over there overseas with the Russian U.S. Going supposed to go in there and clean up all that chemical action stuff they have going on over there. That caused the markets to gap up, and here we are. The markets gap up this morning. Everything's pretty jolly, and the bears take control to fade the market at the prior highs here. So 171.24 was a high of the SPY today, which surpassed this high up here, which was 170.97. And you can see the S&P via this SPY, which is the S&P 500 ETF, closed up 98 cents, a little over 0.5%. And we're still looking all right, even though we gapped up and we faded. That's still fine. Again, we have some support right here around 169.39 from the prior 3-day high that we had right here, which we broke above it. So now it's going to act as support on this side. So if anything, if we continue to fade tomorrow, look for this 169.40 area to act as support. It's not until we start breaking below that and holding below that level that we have to be worried about the market trying to pull back below 168 on the SPY. Now, if we take a look at the ES did not make new contract highs. All right, we hit a high here today of 1703.75, and we hit a high over here of 1705. So you can see we were about 1.5 points away from making new all-time highs. And you can also see we have a nice little gap fill in the chart here. So we could get some gap fill action tomorrow down towards this 168, down towards the 1682 level. We'll wait and see. Definitely, if we break today's lows and we start holding below that level, we definitely are going to see some downward pressure, I would assume, since we had this nice little topping tail, rallied up close to the highs. We sold off and closed in the lower 80% range, 90% range of the candlestick. That's pretty bearish to me, guys. Make sure you are on your P's and Q's this week, especially since we have a news-driven week here. We have the FOMC starts tomorrow. We have CPI comes out tomorrow with the Red Book, Treasury International Capital, and the Housing Market Index. And Wednesday we have another big day with news, housing starts, oil numbers, FOMC meeting announcement, FOMC forecast, chairman press conference. Wednesday is going to be a big day. Then Thursday we have a lot of news out, and then Friday's quadruple witching. So definitely expect the volatility. It's going to be a lot of opportunities, but again, if you're not ready for it, if you don't have the levels on the stocks, on the market, if you don't know what you're watching, or don't formulate, if you do not formulate a good game plan going into the opening session, well, you're going to have a tough time this week. So we highly suggest that if you need help doing that, you come check out our chat room, mywallstreettv.com. The password to log in is SMART. You'll be greeted by me, I would say around 8:25, 8:30 in the morning. We'll go over the levels. We'll look to see what stocks are in play, and we'll have some good stuff for you guys that are looking for a little bit more guidance. Or maybe you're not looking for guidance, but you want to be more in a team environment where we try to help each other out and work together. Come check us out, mywallstreettv.com. All right, so let's go and take a look at the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq, it did gap up with the rest of the market, of course, but then it was getting faded the majority of the day thanks to the weakness that we had in Apple. Apple was down over 3% today. So let's go ahead and break down the NASDAQ, starting with the triple Q's daily chart. Okay, you can see here we gapped up, made new 52-week highs, but we were not able to hold above those highs, and we pulled back into these rising moving averages we have here. We also have some nice support around 77.28, 77.25 from these prior highs that were made right here that we broke above, so it should now act as support on this side. So keep an eye on that 77.25 level if we go towards that area tomorrow. Definitely got to watch to see how those buyers react around the level if we continue to fade from today's highs. Let me take a look at my NASDAQ proprietary channel analysis chart. Haven't looked at this in a minute here. Want to see how this looks now. And yeah, we had that little breakout over that little range that we were looking for. However, it looks like they're going to try to bring us right back into the range. NASDAQ futures here. Ugly candlestick here. Today's action pretty much engulfed just about all of last week's action, except for the maybe the Monday morning action we had. Aside from that, the Nasdaq, this action today was very bearish for the market. And if you just go ahead and take a look at the Apple stock, Apple again, it was down. Oops, Apple was down over 3%, down $14.78, guys. Again, nice little range that we had in Apple. We gapped down last week. Wednesday caught some people by surprise from all the downgrades. Remember, all of this started because the investors that are invested in this stock, the institutions, they were not happy with the press conference that that Apple had last week. I guess it did not reach their expectations of the product rollouts, potential profit margins, and that caused the stock to get downgraded by at least 4 boutique firms last week Wednesday. And the stock broke down today, and it looks like it wants to go much lower. We do have a gap fill around Apple around this 425, 427 area, and then some support from the earnings gap up, of course, which I believe it should hit that possibly tomorrow if they continue to sell Apple. And if they do, we have to watch the Nasdaq. We have to watch the rest of the indices to make sure that this stock that is a market leading stock, doesn't lead the rest of the market down. And you can see this thing could get ugly. This thing could go all the way back down towards 390. Okay, if they this thing could go all the way back down towards 390 if they really want to sell this stock down, which then it'll be coming into this little double bottom area. Broke the uptrend line, so we definitely know that that trend's not intact anymore. We broke this little pivot point that we had right here. Next pivot I would say is from the gap up of this little area right here, and the pivot after that is down here, then down here. So we do have some nice room to the downside in Apple. If you're trading Apple, make sure you are working off the correct levels and you're on your top of your game there. And those be pretty good if you're trading the Nasdaq futures, because Apple continues to sell out. That's definitely going to cause there to be more selling pressure in the Nasdaq futures and more upside action, regardless of all the other smaller stocks in the Nasdaq that are making those minor pushes to the top side. Take a look at the IWM, the Russell 2000 here was up 23 cents. Again, the Russell 2000, we've been talking about this in this nice little downward bullish channel. Okay, and that broke out. And one thing you notice here, we had a break of a channel or a trend line. Sideways action, pretty bullish. We gapped up today from the little breakout, and then we faded back on top of it, on top of that range. If we break back below that range, back below this 105 area, our first move is going to be back down here towards 104. We break back below 104, and especially if we break back below 103, we can see this thing fade, back down towards this 101 area. Now, when you have a downward channel or a downward trend line break, what tends to happen is you have a nice little upward movement, and then you either get an official back test of the trend line, or you either get a higher pivot low from the trend line, or you either get a range like we had last week from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then what tends to happen, if we don't hold the top of that trend line, again, we're going to fall back to the bottom of this little flag pattern that tried to form here, or that is still in formation because we are still respecting the upper part of the top of the channel or the range of the flag. And if we break back below the bottom of the flag, anybody that's long this index with the stop underneath these lows here, they're going to get stopped out. Sellers are going to recognize this market's weak, and they're going to start selling. Then you're going to have two different types of sellers. So just keep that in mind. Again, you always want to look who's on the opposite side of your trade when you're taking the trade, or just think about that. Just think about it. Say, okay, if they're long from here, their stop's right here. Where they're going to get stopped out at. Where's this person that bought the market up here, where they're going to feel a lot of pain, where they're like, I bought it in the wrong area, let me just go ahead and accept my loss. When are they going to start selling? If it goes below here, so people that have been long, they're going to get stopped out if we break below 104. People that are long from up here from the gap up and that are hoping that it comes back and turns around, they're gonna give up most likely if it goes below 104. So these are things you want to think about when you're taking a trade and you're looking at a stock for an entry. You know, where are the people that bought this stock or sold the stock before me? Where are they short at? Where are they long at? So in any case, keep an eye on those levels that I just mentioned on the IWM. Again, we went through some key stocks. Let's go ahead and take a look at some more key stocks. Amazon, all right, it's having trouble breaking over 300. If I start to see a lot of Nasdaq stocks get weak, that's going to give me some more. That's going to give me some more conviction. It's going to give me more conviction that the Nasdaq futures are going to be the weakest index to watch going forward for short sell opportunities in those names that, well, they're probably good names, but they probably just, have rallied up too fast and need to pull back into those support levels to test those lower support levels. So we'll see how it plays out. Amazon looks so far like it's having trouble. A little retest, a little back test hold, prior support, right? Acting as resistance now a little bit there. Keep an eye on that name. HPQ, I'm not sure what was the news in HPQ today, but it did get smacked down. It was a very weak name today. And with that being said, we want to keep an eye on it for tomorrow to see if it's going to get some more downside action, okay, or if they're going to try to hold it. Let me see. Is there any insight on what the news is? Okay, we did Hewlett Packard. All right, I can't find any news on that. I'll look it up later tonight. But again, it's still weak from the earnings report when it gapped down this day. Then it's traded sideways. Remember, a downward sideways movement is indicative of another move lower. This thing looks like it wants to go to 21 and touch this 200-day. What's this? A simple exponential, simple moving average right there around 2103. So keep an eye on Hewlett Packard, another weak name. Altera. This was another weak technology stock name that got smacked down today. Look at this. This candle from today pretty much engulfed the previous 1, 2, 3, 4, and even some of 5. All this action right here, all this. So in other words, if you've been long the stock for the past 5 days, you pretty much gave all that back in one day. Not bullish, folks. Look for Altera to make its move lower. It may not be tomorrow, may have a pause day, but look for the stock to start making its way back lower. If that's making its way back lower, you want to also pay attention to some of the other semiconductor names to see how they're doing, especially if Apple is losing some, potentially losing some interest from investors. And these companies that build these chips, they put a lot of these chips in these Apple phones. They're not going to be getting those orders. They're not going to get that many orders from Apple anymore, I guess, as Apple's iPhone starts to slow down and sell. So that's affecting some of these semiconductor stocks, and that's why you're seeing some of those stocks sell off a little bit. The banks were pretty good. Goldman Sachs held up today, up over 1.5%. Right, not too far from making new 52-week highs. Morgan Stanley, of course, this has been one of the stronger names out there as well. This name's making new 52-week highs. I got people asking me, hey, think it's time to go short the banks, buy some FAZ? No. Got Morgan Stanley making new highs. Goldman Sachs about to make new highs. Just got added to the Dow Jones. All right, JP Morgan, which has been the laggard name, is trying to catch some support here. Even this one, though, this one's looking kind of weak. If you're trading banks, I would not trade JP Morgan, guys. Do not. It's the weakest one out there. BAC still holding in a pretty steady. I'm also looking at some other names that were strong today. Ben, Franklin Research. I actually used to work at Franklin Templeton as an analyst, but not anymore. But anyways, this stock looks pretty good. BEN breaking over 50 and a half. Can make a nice move up towards 52 here in the short term. Keep this one on your radar. Let's see. Wells Fargo shows some nice strength today as well. Okay, take a look at the 5-minute chart. This stock was actually holding up above its opening price, or holding the opening price for the majority of the morning before all the other names are kind of pulling back a bit. This one held up pretty strong. So we actually gave this one to our guys in the room, saying, guys, if you're looking to get strong, if you're looking to get long financials, you want to look at Wells Fargo. And this one gave a nice little entry right here around 42.83 and traded all the way up to 43.05. But again, the whole point I'm trying to show here is that Wells Fargo, pretty strong, held its opening price, didn't fade back down like the market or some of those other financials. All right, or actually, no, all the financials actually held up pretty well, but didn't fade that much back, and needs to get back above this 43 level and consolidate a bit, and then push higher, and this will be on the radar for a buy back up towards the highs in this gap fill around the 43 half, 44 area. Let's see, anything else that's crazy here. GE up 1.5% today. This GE stock looks pretty good as well over today's highs. Wants to start making its way back up towards 25, which is the next target. Going to have some minor support around this 24.40 area because it was prior support, so it's going to act as a resistance a little bit here. Keep that one in mind. That's about it, guys. I mean, not really much to talk about here. I don't want to make the video too long for no reason. But we have some more things on the radar. Make sure you come check us out in the chat room to find out what ideas we'll be looking at tomorrow. And that's about it, folks. Have a great day. Cheers.